All right, guys, welcome back to another video here. We are gonna be restoring some antler today. We got this old buck here that's been sitting in a flower bed for a long time. You can tell he's pretty chalked out. He's even got a little bit of discoloration, so we're gonna see how good it turns out, but what we're gonna be using today is this stuff right here, potassium permanganate. You can buy this online. It comes in a powdered form. And all you do is you mix it with some water, and it goes on kind of purpley or purplish pink when you paint it on the horns. Then over time it kind of seeps in and creates kind of that nice brown natural antler color. So we're gonna see how well it goes. These antlers are a little bit chalked out, as you can see, kind of discolored, a little bit even chewed on by some dogs or something. So we're gonna see how well it turns out, but I'm hoping it can just be good enough to where it looks a little bit nicer. We can help preserve this nice big frame buck a little bit better, but we'll walk you through step by step and we'll do a little end to see how it turned out. So let's get going. All right, so I got this laid out all ready for us. What I've done is I've taken some little just rags and tied them around the bases here, just so I don't spill and get on this skull. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the skull. Maybe I'll try painting it or trying to bleach it out a little bit, but just to try and keep this potassium permanganate off the skull. So what we're gonna do now is we got it up here. We got a cup with just a little bit of water in there. Honestly, I just eyeball it, just enough to dissolve, kind of just a spoonful of this stuff. So we'll get us a little spoonful out of here. Just got a little bit there. Get that in there. You see it makes that purplish pink color. And that's probably good. We're just gonna stir that up. So it's gonna make that dark kind of pink purplish color. You can kind of see on the sides there. That's totally normal, and then when you paint it on, it's gonna look kind of like a light pink, but then it will just, as time goes on, as it dries, it'll turn that brown, kind of that antler color we're looking for. So we'll get this stirred up and we'll start painting it on with, sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I just like to use a little rag, kind of like treating it like stain, but we'll probably use both those, get it all coated up nice, and then we'll bring you back for an update. All right, guys, we got that first coat on. So as you can see, it's still a little bit pink where it hasn't dried yet. And then up where it's starting to dry, it's starting to turn a little bit kind of that brown color. Usually with a buck, I put on maybe 2 to 3 coats. So we'll see how dark this one turns out. I do like to let it dry all the way though, because sometimes the longer it sits on, the darker it turns. So to prevent turning them super dark, I usually like to let them dry pretty much completely, and then I put on a second coat. But usually it does take at least 2 coats to get it to where it's looking good. And then we'll probably try and rough up some of these points to make it look like they've been kind of rubbing, you know, so it's got that kind of a little bit of a highlight down in there, down in all the brush horn right here. So looking pretty good so far. We'll let him dry and see what he looks like. All right, let's go for round 2, baby. All right, there we have it. We got the second coat on. As you can tell, it's starting to look a lot darker now. Obviously, it's still dry and it's still got that red kind of pinkish tone to it. So we'll let it dry. You can see up here, it's starting to dry into that kind of brownish antler color. So hopefully it'll dry looking good. We'll give it some time to dry completely out this time. And then depending on how it looks, we might add a little bit more around the bases to make them darker, but we'll probably be done up towards the tops. We don't want to get those too dark, just so we don't make it look unnatural. So looking pretty good so far. All right, guys, it's been a couple days. I was out of town for a little while, so it's been drying for a little bit longer than I usually like to let it sit. Hopefully it's not gonna mess it up too much. As you can see, it's kind of like starting to show through kind of that chalky texture and coloring right here. So we'll see how it turns out. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna spray it with this clear coat. Honestly, I've tried all different types of clear coats, all the same. As long as it's just clear, it'll kind of seal up and give that shine to the antler. So let's go ahead and spray it and we'll see how it turns out. All right, guys, take a look at the finished product here. Ended up a little bit darker than I was hoping. I think with that, just how it's a little bit chalky, it ended up sucking in a little bit more than the color than I was hoping. Also, I was a little bit slow on getting the final clear coat on, so that might have played a part as well. Usually the longer you leave that potassium permanganate on, the darker it gets. So as you can see, I kind of sanded off the tips a little bit of the antlers just to give that highlight. And then on the bases here, I did come down with a little bit of sandpaper just to sand off those higher points. Give it a little bit more highlight, give it a little more depth in there. I think it looks good enough for being a little garden buck, how it used to be all chalked out. It's not too bad. It'll look good up on the garage wall, so we'll hang him up and he'll be a nice little buck hanging up there for a while. I'm not sure what to do with this skull. I might just throw a layer of like white paint on it or something like that just to make him a little bit more even, take away this pink in there. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. In my opinion, doing this with a hard white type horn, kind of like a year-old or 2 years old horn, it'll end up a little bit better. The coloring will end up a little bit more uniform, and you won't have these blotches of darker right here that you can see where it's kind of chalked out. But hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you on the next one.